I am Joel Primack from the Common Room community team, and I am serving and supporting all members of Uncommon. So that's my role. I'll be hosting us today. I am joined by the amazing one and only Jeremiah Clark from our solutions consulting team. We're going to be talking with folks around a couple use cases for Common Room today. One being event and field marketing, the other being for ABM folks. And so we wanted to first start off our fun session today with a quick poll just to see what folks are most interested in learning today and where you all would like to start the conversation. Either event and field marketing use cases or ABM. Ooh, let's see. Okay, awesome. So with that, it looks like we are going to be first starting with ABM, and then we'll get into event and field marketing use cases. Before we get into ABM, do does anyone have questions or would like to start the conversation, or would it be most helpful for Jeremiah to share a couple examples of ways we can support ABM workflows at companies today to kick off that part of the conversation?
I think the latter, Joel, would be
Okay.
helpful.
Yeah, sounds good. Then I will pass it over to Jeremiah, and you are running with the show today.
All right. Share my screen here. Can everybody see Pied Piper? Yeah, I got a thumbs up there. Quick check, like how familiar are you all? I mean, Angie sounds like you're pretty familiar. Alex, Stacy, like, are you all in Common Room on a daily basis? Do you need a little bit of a refresher? Give me a sense of like uh what you're doing today with Common Room.
Pretty new to it.
Okay. Stacy, how about you?
I've been on it for a while, but it's not 100% my job. So the problem is,
Mm,
but the time into it that I need to. So a refresher course, if I've missed something along the way, is always helpful to me.
okay, great. And for some reason, I just lost my video panel. Let me see if I can bring that back so I can see y'all. No, I can't. Oh well, I'll come back to that. But if you have a question, feel free to just blurt it out. Stop me while I'm going here. So just to orient us a little bit on what is Common Room, what can you do with Common Room? I like to start with showing an example of a contact because I think that's where it's most powerful. What Common Room does is ingests your signals from various places, right? So if you have your CRM connected, social, community, GitHub, we're ingesting all of those signals and unifying those into one profile per person. And I think that's what makes Common Room very unique compared to other platforms where we have this concept of person 360. So we have one person, we have multiple social handles, records in Salesforce connected to this one person, and we see all of their activity, job change activity, website activity, social activity in one place. And based on that, then it allows us to action on those individuals. Making sense? Is this ringing a bell to folks? Cool. So So the way that we generally work on setting up Common Room for our customers, so I sit both on the pre-sales side, help folks do trials, guided, proof of concept, as well as on the implementation side. So I get the unique position of being able to see how people are thinking about using Common Room, and then once they purchase, then how customers are actually implementing Common Room. What we often do is sit down and talk through some plays that are most helpful for their marketing team or their sales team or their community team. And so what you're seeing here are 4 plays, we call them segments, that we've set up. And I think the easiest way to think about segments is a dynamic list of contacts or accounts. So like these segments have specific criteria that we've set up. In this case, with the job changers, for instance, we're looking at, has anybody changed jobs in the last 6 months, and are they an economic buyer? So we can talk about the economic buyer tag in a minute here, but it's a very simple set of criteria. And so anybody that qualifies for that set of criteria based on the data that we're collecting then shows up in this list of contacts. I'll stop there. Questions? I'm going to just put the video back on so I can see all. Is it making sense so far? Like give you a little bit more lay of the land? Yes. Cool. I'll share again. All right. And so what we see with the job changers is this is a super powerful segment to get started with that doesn't require a ton of setup on the marketing or the ops side, but allows you to do a lot with the contacts that you're collecting in this list. So in the settings here, we were setting up this last 6 months and economic buyers. The economic buyers is a tag that's available out of the box, and it's just looking at director and above titles. So fully customizable. You could set it for, manager and above. You could set it for specific titles. If like, let's say you're focused more on commercial open source, or you're focused more on, hey, we're more of a go-to-market tool, then you can actually set these tags based on your ideal persona. But in this case, we kept it pretty open. And then now we can filter or refine from there. And there's a few different ways we can do that. So one of the ways is this primary contact score. This is also something that is super easy to set up out of the box, is in this case, using not only attributes, but also our product activity. So if your room is ingesting product activity, then you can use those actions in the scores. If you wanted to keep it more simple and just show, role, team, do they have an email address? Do they have a phone number? Then the scoring is really flexible in that sense. And it allows you to sort by that. So let's say we wanted to only show of this list if they're excellent, right? So we can actually sort on this score. We can sort on, that's actually the wrong score here. So we can search for primary contact score, right? Let's filter down and give me only the contacts that have an excellent score here. We can also look at org size. So if we wanted to say, well, this is showing some orgs that are smaller in here, give me org size of at least 200, right? So it gets really easy to filter from there. And then based on the criteria that you set, then you can take action on these contacts in a few different ways. I'll stop there for questions. Anything jumping out at you? How does this sit?
I've never seen this primary contact score. How do you set it up?
Yeah, I can show you that.
That's awesome.
So the primary contact score is just the name of our score, but let me just make sure I wish I could get my video back here, but that's okay. So in here, in scores,
okay,
you see we have multiple different scores. So you'll go into your settings down here and then hit scores. And then there's 2 different types of scores. There's a contact score and there's an organization score. In the contact score, so this is the one that we're looking at now, there are two different elements. So it's a similar score if you like used to using marketing automation. It's more flexible in the sense that you can change the values, score ranges. You can also put in different importance here for different attributes. And then you can also set. So like this has attribute level as well as behavior criteria, and it's split 50-50. Some customers, they want to see more of like, show me the better ICP fit and then add in a few points. So it's more like 80-20 split. But does that help give you a better sense, Stacy?
Yeah, thank you. There's so many things about Common Room. It's so hard to like absorb all of it. Like I'm gets a little overwhelming at times. Right now, I'm just trying to build prospecting lists for like one of our sales leads. He gave me like his 100 company prospects. So
Mm-hmm.
is this something that would be of value then to add to that, the scores on those prospects that I'm adding?
Is the goal to ingest more contacts into Common Room that you don't have, or
Yeah.
like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So yes, that would be helpful. I
Okay.
think it would actually be more helpful to use the prospector tool and probably use an organization score
Okay.
and then run the prospector workflow based on the org level score as opposed to the contact level score. So let me show you what I mean there.
Uh,
Yeah, go ahead,
And
Joel.
okay, I was just gonna say, and then that's also once Jeremiah just briefly shows us that, it's also the perfect segue then into our second ABM use case too. For once you're a member of your sales team, Stacy, has engaged with a contact, then that's exactly where our second example for an ABM use case can come into play, and Jeremiah will then just dive into that too. So stay tuned.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. So I have a segment here called hot named accounts. Just think of this as like this is your target list of accounts that you want to reach out to. Now, the criteria on this is a little bit more complex. So this is probably something, Stacy, that you're working through with your team. But in this case, we're saying basically, give me any account that has some level of social engagement that's not a customer today, that's visited a web page at least once, and here's that organization score, right? So basically say if instead of a contact, if their organization matches our ICP criteria, and they have done some of these other things, then surface those accounts in this list here. And what we have here is what we call calculated or roll-up fields. So we're actually counting the groups of contacts that are available in Common Room. So you can see that we click on that contacts, it shows us all the contacts here. And we can even get deeper into economic buyers there. We can also look at website visitors, for instance. So like give me all the contacts at Morissette Group that have visited the website. And we can look at things like job listings. So this is where it gets really interesting in the sense of like if you're going after a named group of accounts and you want to be able to see like who are they hiring, what are they interested in, then you can create these calculated fields to actually show the kind of various different counts of in your database or outside of your database. And then from there, we actually can set up a prospector workflow. So this is here in the workflows tab. And what you can do is say, does this organization fall into this organization segment? And if it does, add contacts to the organization via prospector. So it actually brings those contacts into Common Room and it enriches them and then allows you to act on them from there based on if that particular account has is a member of that segment.
Okay.
Does
This
that
is
make sense?
No, this is cool. I just have to remember all the steps.
Yeah, and I'm happy to like to share more after the fact,
Yeah,
or
yeah.
uh,
It's always remembering
follow
it.
up here if you have specific questions. Like we can definitely walk you through the process. But
Okay, cool. Thank you. This is really this is golden, and I'm trying to, it's 150 accounts right now I'm trying to work on. So it's a
yeah,
lot.
Def
uh,
Definitely that. And also it's being recorded, so it'll be shared out to Stacy. So you got
Oh,
it
good.
coming
Okay.
to
Okay.
your uncommon inbox.
Perfect.
yeah,
I
for
appreciate that.
sure.
That's really helpful.
The other thing I would say there is if you're struggling with like what do we do with all 150 contacts or accounts, then just putting the score on is a helpful way of like starting to prioritize. So I would start with that and then go from there. Cool, good questions there. I know we're running up on timer, so I'll walk through the other two use cases that we talked through, and then feel free to interrupt if you have questions here. So, um, other one that we talked about that I think is very useful for marketing use cases in particular, where you want to be able to do some retargeting or action based on those contacts that are engaged, is a pricing page visit. So what we see with a lot of customers is you have contacts that are coming to your website, visiting your website. Maybe they're landing on certain pages that are high intent, but you want to be able to follow up with them if they're not submitting your demo form, right? And this is where creating a segment, so it's a little bit more work in the sense that you do have to put the common room website tag on your website. But once that's done, then it automatically starts pulling in those website visits. And we can see right away, hey, this person landed on the website 50 minutes ago. They have that score that we talked about that we created before. Now, how do we action on this? And this is where you could do a couple of different things, but putting them into a workflow, for instance, where you're able to push to a Salesforce campaign or run LinkedIn ads based on that can be really powerful to run that retargeting. Alex, you said that's me. What's the
That,
what's
that's literally me. It's like picking up my identity from the pricing page.
oh actually you. Sorry, didn't think that it would be displaying actually you, but love that. So that's great, right? Like we can
Mhm.
see that it works, right? We picked up your identity from the pricing page, and then from here we could either action on you directly, right? I could send you into an outreach sequence, usually more on the sales side, or right, put you into a campaign, and then we'll follow up based on what activity we have from you there. So.
Hey Jeremiah, how often do you find, or what's the split that you typically find between like uh XDR teams using this for true sales prospecting versus marketing teams using it for campaign-based work?
Both. It's probably 50-50, maybe 60-40 in the sense that XDR teams are more in this view and actioning individually, whereas marketing teams are more using these workflows here to say, give me the list of contacts or accounts that I want to action on and then do something with them in a more programmatic fashion.
Is there a way to set up like dynamic lists that automatically push towards marketing campaigns, like a LinkedIn ad campaign that we're running against targeted accounts visiting pricing and packaging?
Yes. So actually, all of these segments that we've created are dynamic in the
Okay.
sense that refreshing on a every couple of hours. And then the workflows are also dynamic where it's running once a day and then pushing into various places. So our marketing team actually uses this to then push into a Salesforce campaign. You can also send directly to sequences or to fire a webhook and add contacts to like a LinkedIn audience via Zapier.
Okay.
So we can send that afterwards as like a good follow-up, but there's actually like a play on our resource library that walks you through the steps of doing that very use case.
One of the challenges that and sorry if I'm derailing this a bit, but one of the challenges that we face is like the potential ring fencing of accounts that we want marketing to own versus that we want the, let's call them an XDR team or outbound prospecting team to own. Is there ring fencing that we can create within this or within these lists or workflows that say like until they hit a certain score or until they're sort of pushed towards a XDR view, it'll be owned by marketing versus owned by an XDR function?
Yes, absolutely. We see what customers do there is typically use like a field in CRM to say this is owned by marketing or this is owned by sales. But you could also do things like add particular activity filters in here. So like have they been a part of a sequence, right? Or you could use something like um, are they in a certain plan? Do they have a company owner value? So anything that you have in CRM is available to use as filter criteria.
Cool.
Yeah. Other questions? Is this inspiring y'all thinking about how you could use this in your teams? Yeah, I see some nods there. That's great.
I'm curious on like some of these plays. We see people on a pricing page, we want to add them to a sequence. Is this done like at the user level like this, or is there some way potentially to like automate and round robin some of those folks to an XDR team? Like if these were unowned contacts, we didn't have a lead existing yet. Maybe we have a workflow to create a lead.
Yeah.
Curious how it'd work in like the owned versus unowned environment.
Totally. So there is a way to create contacts in CRM based on what you have here. So if they don't exist already in CRM, then we can say if they have a certain score or if they meet certain criteria, then create the contact in CRM. Usually customers prefer to manage the routing there if the contact is created. On the other hand, if the contact is already existing, but it's sort of unowned, then there's ways where you can set up statuses, or basically we can have different views for different people, and then they would see a portion of the list and not the full list. So it's like splitting out from there.
Makes sense. Cool.
How would you identify a singular person in this type of view that's not already in CRM? Like how does Common Room do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we'll do that in a few different ways. One way is the prospector. So we were looking at this hot named accounts. So we could go into this Morissette group and see, maybe that's not a great example. Give me all the people at Johnson, Roble, and Price that are available that meet my ICP criteria. So these are contacts that don't already exist in Common Room. They can be added as contacts here, and then they could be created in CRM.
Are they being pulled from like your integration with LinkedIn or other platforms that self-identify that as their company?
Yes, that's correct. So all of these are associated with LinkedIn contacts. If you're ingesting from other signals, so we de-anonymize from all of the signals that we're pulling in. So if it's from LinkedIn, you have a LinkedIn page and you are tracking followers, then we can actually connect to that LinkedIn page and pull in there. GitHub, Reddit, a number of the other signals that you may already have connected, we're pulling in there and de-anonymizing from those sources directly. And then the third way is on the website. If somebody lands on your website and we have the tracking script on there, then we're actually attempting to de-anonymize that contact through a couple of different ways. So I can follow up with like more specific details on that, but it's basically
hooking that user and then figuring out through.
Yes, exactly. Same thing with like Slack, if you have Slack or Discourse connected. So we're de-anonymizing from all those sources and then pulling together in the one profile.
Cool.
Sweet. Any other questions? Love the discussion here, but I want to make sure that it's relevant to you all, useful. So the last play that we set up here is social and community engaged. Now, we're building on the concepts that we've talked about before, right? So we're using scores. We're also using tags to see, is this person director level and above? But one thing we haven't talked about is you can also get into the location. So for events, field marketing use cases, this becomes really powerful because you can say, give me all the contacts that have engaged with our various channels, with our community, with us on LinkedIn, and then let me filter down to everybody who is in Los Angeles. That's where I am. So I'm a little bit biased there, but if I wanted to send out some invites for community dinner or a high value event that we're inviting specific folks to, then it's really easy to take this larger segment and narrow it down to give me all the people that are in Los Angeles. Let's say you also wanted to look at, instead of Los Angeles, something a little bit bigger in terms of a region. You can see here you can actually filter based on United States or California too. So let's widen that net a little bit, right? Instead of just Los Angeles, show me everybody that's in California, and it will give you that full list of contacts. And then from there, you can do things like, well, we actually want to see everybody who's an influencer, which means they have certain levels of social following. You can use that tag to say, give me influencers. Let's see economic buyers too. Great. Now we have our list of invites to that dinner that we want to host, and we can either send them here or we can push them directly into a Salesforce campaign, send the invites from Salesforce, and we're off. So easy way to go from a really large audience of engaged folks on the community and the marketing side to this is our smaller subset, and then even narrow it down from there.
I love that. I have another quick question for you. Sorry if I'm monopolizing the questions over here.
No, it's great. I love it.
Does this or can this plug into like a LinkedIn in-mail campaign where we can basically marry more senior level executives with the LinkedIn in-mail campaign and have LinkedIn in-mail be sent out from one of our executives for instance, executive engagement event?
Yeah. The way that I would look at doing that now would be to use the actions here to go to the LinkedIn profile and then send directly. There are some ways to use partners where we can basically push the data out to a partner and then they would automate the LinkedIn messaging from there. But that's
okay.
Right.
We're finding like specific channel, like we're finding LinkedIn in-mail works really. Oh, there will be a way. Cool. We're finding LinkedIn in-mail works really well for like more senior level one-on-one engagement where it's cold outreach.
Yeah.
It's like an outreach sequence from an XDR persona into like potentially an influencer or buyer.
Yeah. We do this internally as well. Our team has kind of mastered this approach. And so what we actually do here is we use the scoring and the filter criteria and then run a website visit notification that pushes to a Slack channel. So you can actually create a team alert here. So we have this high intent site visitors. It says like if they've visited any particular pages here and they fit this score, then send a team alert. And so our SDR team actually looks for those and then follows up with those particular individuals directly from the Slack channel. So that could be another way to approach it.
Yeah. Cool.
And then also, I just wanted to jump in because Jeremiah said earlier you could drop folks into a Salesforce campaign. Equally, we are also HubSpot friendly too.
Yes.
So you can also drop folks into like a workflow, I believe. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah. A workflow or a sequence, which is we're one of the only tools that actually pushes in directly into HubSpot sequences. So yeah, we do see customers do that on a regular basis. Thanks for the call out there, Joel.
I gotcha.